Thank you, and good morning. Again, my name is Repa Mehka. I'm President and CEO of Nexus Community Partners, a community building intermediary charged with building more engaged and powerful communities. I'm excited about this morning, encouraged and challenged by the work that we've been doing in our region and even the possibilities that exist within our reach going into the future. This morning, you've heard a great deal about some of the exciting investments and developments that's been happening in the region, and so I won't repeat some of those. Some of them are worth repeating, and so I'll do so. An important thing, though, for us to remember in the midst of all this excitement is that major investments in the built environment should translate to major benefits for the human environment, and especially for those of us, or those communities, who are both economically and environmentally vulnerable. I'm excited because in this region there's an emerging understanding that the region can only achieve and sustain growth and prosperity by integrating all into the community. That community engagement and advancing equity is a long-term proposition, and it is intricately tied to our regional economic competitiveness. And that by linking those three things together, engagement, equity, and regional economic competitiveness, we've been able to bring folks from various sectors together, including underrepresented communities, around some shared vision and interests. And over the last 4 years, through an initiative called Corridors of Opportunity, or PRO, Partnership for Regional Opportunity Now, we've been able to create a basic framework, roadmap, and some structure for making progress in addressing disparities and advancing equitable investments in our region. In that short period of 4 years or so, what we've seen is over 25 organizations provided funding and technical assistance to increase their capacity, to reach out and connect with residents, and to inform them and engage them around transit decisions and processes. To the tune of over 40,000 people reached out and connected to, 12,000 engaged directly in conversations and decision-making, and 250 elevated in their communities as leaders. And our Met Council, you've heard, has taken on an equitable development definition and principles of equitable development, and is now working jointly with community-based organizations to develop a public engagement plan that will be applied across all departments. There are many of these kind of situations and opportunities that are happening in our region that makes this work not easy, but easier, to begin to spread an equity agenda that's based, that doesn't deal with silos and operating on the fringes. But we're still young in this work, and slippage can occur easily. And unfortunately, in spite of the progress that we've made over the years, many of us, like places that you come from, have been operating in a paradox that's been unacceptable and unsustainable. A paradox that on the one hand sees communities of color and our diversity as a social and economic challenge, while on the other, watching them revitalize metro and greater Minnesota economies. A paradox that positions our region as a progressive place to live and raise a family, while at the same time we're challenged with some of the greatest disparities in the country. A paradox that says that this is a place that's open, while at the same time communities of color and underrepresented communities face some of the greatest barriers to opportunity structure. So we have our work to do, and therefore this idea of a rising tide raises all boats has to be challenged, because even when the boats raise, if those who have been restricted to shoreline possibilities and opportunities are still restricted there, then they never get to experience the depth of opportunity and options that live in deeper waters. And too often, if the tides change, they get restricted and marooned to the shores. So policies have to be put in place that address this. So to get at effectively get at equity, outcomes have to be at least two parallel processes. One that are about population outcomes, and the other is about systems and policy outcomes. If we don't run those two things together, we miss the boat. We have to be intentional, strategic, purposeful, and more than anything, courageous in the way that we step into this, the way that we lean into this. So what's been happening here that's made a difference that we've seen that's gotten some traction? One, building strong community engagement capacity and linking that capacity to systems. So ensuring that communities have the kind of information that they need that is digestible, that can be transmitted to communities, ensuring that community-based organizations have the resources they need to get the work done, strategically building relationships between community-based organizations and public and government institutions so that people get to know each other as individuals and not just as entities. That's critically important. Engaging early, often, and ongoing, extremely important. And then establishing community engagement infrastructures that are not responsive, but are engaged and can be planful around the opportunities that exist. Two, ensuring representation at decision-making tables. That underrepresented communities have to be part of the decision-making process, not just invited to give input on decisions. And that avenues have to be created to get them placed on those commissions, committees, advisory committees, in order for it to stick. Three, implementing targeted strategies that anchor communities and prosperities. This region is going to be investing and has been investing billions of dollars in TOD, and underrepresented communities have to be more than consumers of services and products as the outcome. So they have to be more than riders, and they have to be more than shoppers. And yes, it's about jobs, education, training, and choice housing, but it's also about entrepreneurship, homeownership, and political office. That if we don't integrate underrepresented communities in that way, we miss the boat. And then the fourth is that because the work has to be done in an environment that helps to support it, we have to create a landscape that supports regional equity conversations, visions, and learning. And that means dialogues that keep equity front and center, that moves it from a zero-sum game to a win-win proposition, that creates spaces and methods that acknowledge and address race head-on, that challenges our assumptions and our practices in a way that propels us forward, and that engages us in dialogue about the changing demographics that are happening. It ain't something that's coming. It's something that's here. It ain't a philosophy. It ain't a point of view. It ain't an opinion. It's a reality, and we have to be prepared for it. And we made progress in all of these areas to some degree, and I'm hopeful that although there's much to be done, that there's a strong foundation that's been laid, that we can still achieve much from and moving forward, and that we are in a critical time. And if this region is to be able to compete regionally, nationally, and internationally, Minnesota will have to make some changes, right? In how it does business, how it educates, employs, supports, transports, and invests in underrepresented communities. And we have to think about engagement in a different way. And I'll wrap up in these four things. Engagement is about bringing people to the table so you can hear their voices, so they can lean in. Engagement is also about achieving inclusion so that people are at the table as decision makers. Engagement is about ensuring equitable outcomes, and that is about housing, jobs, access to transportation, but engagement is also about prosperity. That if we don't integrate underrepresented communities as homeowners, as business owners, as policymakers, we'll miss the boat. And our region needs the full range of voices at the table to understand the issues because they're going to be complex. Our challenges are going to require some of the most innovative thinking and our opportunities even more. And I'm encouraged because here in the Twin Cities, we do have cross-sector leadership leaning into this issue. But I want to again emphasize our increasingly diverse population must be in the lead into the next era of our growth and our future, that equitable outcomes are shared outcomes. I hope you enjoy the conference. I hope you learn much, but I also hope you give much in return. Thank you.